So this is a really, 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 really important offseason for the Yankees, right? And there's some huge decisions that need to be made here. They need to bring in the right coaches that are going to be representative of helping to transition this team back to the Bronx Zoo. And and then we're going to need some more players representative of that as well moving forward, because they have a lot of talent on this team, but the chemistry is not there, and it's not constructed in such a way that's going to put them in a position to beat these top young dynamic teams. So, but I want to talk about mistakes that they should avoid making this offseason, because again, this is one of the more critical off seasons in a long time for the Yankees. So Cashman's got a lot of work to do, and it's not going to be. It's not one off season that fixes everything. This is going to be a multiple off season rebuild project, repair project, in my opinion, because they're not rebuild. They never rebuild, but retooling, reshuffling, and stuff like that is very, very important. So here are some mistakes that I think they should avoid, and they are completely avoidable mistakes. Number one would be to not find a suitable replacement for Gary Sanchez. Okay. First base, the popular, almost everybody wants him to trade for Matt Olson, and I'm on that boat, okay? But there's Freddie Freeman out there, there's Rizzo, and these guys are going to be really expensive, okay? They already have DJ over 5 years at $15 million per locked up long term, so he's probably going to be the first baseman there. So they have options at first base. What I'm saying, they don't have any options that are obvious to replace Gary Sanchez. I can't even I've talked about this before. Aside from Kyle Higashioka, who's not a starter either, there is no obvious replacement for Gary Sanchez. So the biggest mistake, in my opinion, would be to not bring in somebody who could play a stopgap. And another mistake would be to not trade for another young catcher at some point this offseason, so that they have another option out there. And the even bigger mistake would be to not draft a catcher in the first 10 rounds every single year. Every single year, they should be drafting a catcher who's actually projected to stay catcher, not somebody who's like Austin Wells or Anthony Segal, who's projecting to be at other positions. So we need to have guys that are going to be more representative and remain catchers. So that would be mistake number one: is finding someone else who could just be a consistent backstop, better defense, just something consistent and steady. It doesn't have to be flashy, but somebody who's going to work with the pitchers who actually want to work with him and don't need personal catchers like Garrett Cole did, and like Corey Kluber started to do towards the end of the season too. And someone who actually runs the balls out, doesn't have these long mental lapses and lack of focus and hustling. We need a gamer here. And Sanchez, as talented as he is, he's proven to not really be a gamer. So we need a gamer, a catcher, somebody who can step up and hold pitchers accountable and get back on get in their ass and be like, let's go and take control of the damn game. We need somebody of that kind of mindset and just gamer attitude. So that would be mistake number one, is not finding somebody suitable to replace Sanchez, because again, he's a free agent after this coming season. There's no guarantee that they're going to re-sign him, and based on it looks like he's already plateaued and he's not going to get any better. So if you can get in a replacement this season via free agency or trade, it makes it easier to DFA him and save $8 million. So that's mistake number one. Mistake number two would be to drastically overpay somebody based on one good year. Okay, and let's just start with pitching here. Robbie Ray, he's going to get paid, and I did predict him to the Yankees, but my recommendations were other things. I personally think it would be better off acquiring 2 starters in trades, which would be a hell of a lot cheaper. That would cost prospects, yes, of course, but neither one of them is going to, they're under control for a couple of years, and they're not going to cost $150 million up front. Carlos Rodon's another option. He won't cost as much as Ray, and he's got just as much upside, maybe even more. And he won't cost as much, but he's still going to be upwards of probably close to $100 million, where Ray's going to cost probably upwards of $150. So, I would avoid the pitfall of drastically overpaying for somebody for one good year. Okay? I understand that these are the 2 guys. They're the top guys in the free agent market this year and next, so they're going to get paid. But this is not like Pedro Martinez and Greg Maddux we're talking about. This is Robbie Ray and Carlos Rodon. A little different. So just something to keep in mind there too. Number 3 would be not giving their young kids an opportunity. Just keeping them in the minors and letting them rot, and just having them blocked by a starter who isn't doing shit at the major league level. Another mistake that the Yankees make constantly. Or if you have a starter that's on the IL and the young kids, some young kid gets called up and he's playing extremely well, you don't take him out of the lineup to put the starter back in for the starter to go, about 170 over 25 games or whatever without any rehab games. That's another stupid mistake that the Yankees do sometimes as well. They did that for a bunch of guys this year. And they were winning games when Velasquez was playing well and the young kids were getting opportunities. And Greg Allen was in there. And look what happened when they put guys back in the lineup, or moved on from them guys. It didn't work. So give the young kids a shot, please. Another one, and this one tends to drive me nuts a little bit, is an inconsistency with the batting lineup. So bringing in guys or utilizing guys that you already have, particularly with speed, that you could plug one of them at the top of the lineup. So there's consistency, maybe in the 1, 2, 3 spots. Let's just say it's Greg Allen, DJ, Judge. 1, 2, 3, all the time. All the time. Greg Allen gets on base. He walks, steals bases, gets a base hit, gets moved over or driven in by DJ, gets driven in by Judge or whatever. There's a higher odds for them to score that way and manufacture runs when it's constructed, at least at the very least at the top 3. The Yankees were 26 out of 30 in runners in scoring position. They left shitloads of guys on base. Okay, that's something they need to change. They need the right guys on base, running fast. Whether it be Tyler Wade, who's one of the best base runners on the team, Tim LeCastro, who's one of the fastest players in baseball. If he comes back, hopefully he can go back to that role. And if he gets an opportunity here, they can utilize his speed. But if you have fast guys, why aren't you utilizing them, guys? Especially when you're on the bottom for that type of stuff. Use your fast guys, please. Okay, that's another mistake I hope that they avoid. And and again, the other one would be lack of communication and lack of holding guys accountable. And just, there's a lot of miscommunication across the board. And it seems as if a lot of Yankees players are not taking this really seriously. So they need somebody, whether it be a Buck Showalter or his bench coach or somebody like that, who's not afraid to get in their face and again, light a fire under their ass. And Hal Steinbrenner needs to be okay with that. Cashman needs to be okay with that. Okay, we can't have this lax thing going on all the time while the Blue Jays of the world and the Red Sox and the Rays are just passing us. I mean, Aaron Boone was wrong when he said they're closing the gap. They've already surpassed the Yankees, and they're opening a gap on the Yankees. The Yankees need to do what they need to do to get back here, okay? And my second to last one would be to not act like the Bronx Bombers and the Evil Empire. What do I mean by that? They're the richest team in baseball by a mile, yet they haven't had the highest payroll since 2013. It's been almost 9 years now, 8 years, and counting, that they haven't had the highest payroll. Act like the Bronx Bombers this offseason, because next season it's not the free agent market is not as robust, not as sexy. This is the year to do it. Act like the Evil Empire. Get some more building blocks in here long term, whether it be trades or free agents or both. Okay. And my last one, and this is I'm probably going to get hammered by people, but it would be to drastically overpay Aaron Judge with an extension. Yes, he's the face of the franchise. Yes, he makes money, blah, blah, blah. And I like Judge, but I like the Yankees more. Okay, and if you give the guy $250, $300 million at 31 years old when his new contract is going to start, that's going to hamstring the Yankees. Okay, and I get people all the time say, well, we need to get rid of Stanton's contract. For what? So you can pay Judge $20 million more per year than we do Stanton at the same production? Why would we ever do that? Doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. Would I love to have both? Sure, but again, do we really want to? When his new contract starts in 2023, we will have, and I said this before, we'll have enjoyed 6 years of his prime. 6, and let's just say he gets an 8-year deal, he might get maybe 2 or 3 more prime years, maybe if we're lucky, if he's not injury prone, and then probably 5 decline years. Do we really want to be paying $35 million a year for that? Again, and I said my max would be 6 years, 210, and I'm confident that's going to get turned down. Somebody's going to give him 260, 275, or whatever like that, whatever it is, and let them do that. Let them pay for his decline years. If they might win a World Series up in the front early on, fine. But again, if you make him your best offer, and if he says no, you trade him and you get a boatload in return. But you can only do that this offseason. It's the only time you can do it. So, and I hope the Yankees are smart enough to do that and not make the mistake of negotiating against themselves, because he's going to go where the money is. And I've said this before. He's not going to leave $50 million on a table to take give the Yankees a hometown discount. It's not going to happen. Nobody is going to do that. especially here. Okay, so let's just keep that nugget in mind. But so those are the things that I think are mistakes that are avoidable, that the Yankees can get by if they're smart, if they act like a little bit of Bronx Bombers, a little bit of Evil Empire, and just fundamentally smart, and start developing catchers, start developing starting pitchers more than they do. So there's more depth in the system. So, but those are representative of the mistakes that I think they can avoid and should avoid. You let me know what you think, guys. All right, let's get into it.